Lu Fan and Qin Xiu stood at the edge of the cliff, peering into the abyss below. The poisonous mist that had once obscured their view was slowly dissipating. As the air cleared, they could make out the details of the scene below. There, stretched across the chasm, was a vast spider web, glistening ominously in the faint light. Hundreds of small spiders scurried across the web, their movements quick and unsettling. Lu Fan's eyes narrowed as he analyzed the situation. Among the swarm of smaller spiders, one figure stood out. It was the boss spider monster, the one commanding the others. After careful observation, Lu Fan recognized its deadly skills: regenerative absorption and collective rage. He understood that these abilities were key to the spider's command over its minions. Regenerative absorption allowed it to heal by consuming the smaller spiders, while collective rage could drive the swarm into a frenzy, making them more dangerous. The boss spider was the Spider Queen, the ruler of this secret realm. It fixated its multiple eyes on Lu Fan, and its status window appeared before him. The name, Screeching Spider Mother, hovered in the air, and it was revealed to be level 45. Lu Fan noted its 5 distinct abilities with growing concern. The first ability was called Spiderweb Trap. The Spider Queen could shoot a sticky web that ensnared any targets within its range. Once trapped, the victims had only 6 seconds before the web constricted and killed them. This ability made the Spider Queen a formidable opponent, capable of immobilizing and eliminating threats swiftly. The second ability was Poison Injection. The Spider Queen could spray a puddle of poison, covering a wide area. Any target caught within this toxic puddle would suffer continuous damage. Each layer of toxin would reduce the victim's health by 5%, making prolonged exposure deadly. The third ability, Regenerative Absorption, was particularly troubling. The Spider Queen could consume its spider minions, each feeding restoring 5% of its health. This meant that as long as there were smaller spiders around, the queen could continually heal itself, prolonging the battle and making it harder to defeat. The fourth ability was Group Frenzy. When activated, this ability caused all the spider minions to attack their target simultaneously. Under the influence of Group Frenzy, all attributes of the spider minions increased by 15% for 6 seconds, making the swarm much more lethal. Little by little, the small spiders began to emerge. They crawled out from the crevices, their tiny legs moving quickly over the ground. Lu Fan watched them closely, his eyes narrowing as he came to a conclusion. "We should first eliminate the spider minions," he said firmly. The others nodded in agreement. Meanwhile, Hanjia approached the edge of the cliff. She was curious and wanted to see what was down below. However, as she peered over the edge, Qin Xiu turned her head towards her friend. With a calm look, she suggested, "Hanjia, you shouldn't look down." Hanjia clenched both her fists, gathering all her courage. "I know I can't handle watching what's down below," she explained, her voice steady despite her fear. "But I have to learn. I have to look." Standing beside her, Tao Xiaoman held a tablet in one hand. She glanced at Hanjia with a confused expression. "Even for a combat professional, this scene is very difficult to watch," she said. Despite the warnings, Hanjia stepped closer to the cliff and started looking down. As she looked, Hanjia thought about how her friends were always protecting her. If she couldn't even look down, she would be nothing more than a burden in battle. Determined to overcome her fear, she forced herself to keep her eyes on the scene below. The sight of the spiders made her stomach churn. They swarmed in large numbers, their movements quick and unsettling. Hanjia felt a wave of nausea wash over her. She approached a nearby tree, resting her hand on a branch for support, and started to vomit. Qin Xiu quickly approached her friend, placing a comforting hand on her back. "It's okay, Hanjia," she said softly, trying to soothe her. Lu Fan, who had been watching the spiders, turned his head towards the girls. He closed his eyes for a moment and let out a forced smile. "This is what they call the harsh realities of life," he thought to himself. Jian Ying approached the cliff with a calm expression. She gazed down, thinking deeply. Whether they were approaching or eliminating the boss, it was necessary to get rid of the little spiders first. These small creatures were a significant threat and could complicate their mission. The cliff's edge gave her a perfect view of the area, and she could see the tiny creatures crawling around, their numbers seemingly endless. Tao Xiaoman, standing nearby, turned on her tablet. She was curious to see if any useful information had been posted since their last check. Her eyes widened in shock as she saw new strategies and tips posted in the comments by other teams. These were experienced groups who had already faced the Screeching Spider Mother. Xiaoman quickly absorbed the information, realizing the importance of every detail. "Everyone, listen up." Xiaoman's voice cut through the air. I found the best strategy to tackle the screeching spider mother. During the fight, long-range professionals should attract the enemies and clear the area before we approach the boss. The team gathered around her, listening intently. Xiaoman's confidence was reassuring, but the reality of their task was daunting. She continued, "It looks like it will take at least 4 days to completely clean this secret realm." Hanjia, looking pale, suddenly vomited. She clutched a nearby tree for support and looked at Xiaoman with concern. "Are we really going to take that long? The food I brought will only last for 1 day. I can cook now, but are we willing to eat roasted spiders?" Upon hearing this, Qin Xiu's eyes filled with tears. She did not want to eat spiders, and the thought made her feel even more anxious about their situation. Her distress was evident as she cried softly, adding to the tense atmosphere. At that moment, Lu Fan stepped forward, catching everyone's attention. He reached his hand towards the sky and, with a smile, suggested, "Why don't we come up with our own plan instead of following the strategies of other teams?" Jian Ying turned to Lu Fan with a puzzled expression. "Do you have another plan in mind?" she asked, her curiosity piqued. Xiaoman, still holding the tablet, glanced at Lu Fan. "What are you trying to do, Lu Fan?" she inquired, scrolling through the comments again, hoping to understand his sudden change of heart. Qin Xiu, her eyes still wet with tears, stared at Lu Fan. "Are you planning to use Xiaoyi?" she asked, her voice trembling with a mix of hope and fear. Hanjia stood silently beside Qin Xiu, her face etched with worry. She watched Lu Fan, waiting for his response, unsure of what to expect. Lu Fan extended his hand towards the heavens. His fingers danced with energy, summoning a swirling, magical ball of light that grew larger and brighter with each passing second. The atmosphere crackled with anticipation, and all eyes were on him. "Xiaoyi, arise." Lu Fan's voice echoed with command as he gazed upward. In response to his call, a surge of energy erupted from the magical sphere. The sky seemed to tear apart, and out from the void emerged Xiaoyi, the black dragon. Her scales shimmered ominously, and her eyes burned with a murderous intent. As she fully manifested, flames roared around her, giving her an almost celestial presence. Her wings were vast, casting enormous shadows on the ground below, and her horns gleamed like fiery beacons of destruction. Tao Xiaoman, a skilled warrior in her own right, stood rooted to the spot, her eyes widening in sheer astonishment. The sight of Xiaoyi in her full, destructive form was nothing short of breathtaking. "Is this what they call a giant dragon?" she whispered, unable to tear her gaze away from the magnificent beast. Beside her, Qin Xiu, another formidable fighter, felt a shiver run down her spine. The intense pressure emanating from Xiaoyi was almost suffocating. She had never felt such raw power before. The dragon's presence, it's overwhelming, she thought, trying to steady her nerves. Meanwhile, in the shadows of the battleground, the boss of the opposing forces, the screeching spider mother, sensed the arrival of Xiaoyi. With an ear-piercing roar, she signaled her readiness to fight. Her multitude of eyes locked onto the formidable dragon, and she began to mobilize her brood. The spider mother unleashed a torrent of webs, her 8 legs working in furious synchronization, directing her minions to attack. The ground beneath the warriors trembled as the spiders, their eyes glowing malevolently, surged forward. High above, Xiao Fei, the jade dragon, flew gracefully beside Lu Fan. Xiao Fei's scales sparkled like emeralds in the fading light. Lu Fan, with a calm and collected demeanor, glanced at Xiaoyi. "Take care of the little spiders," he instructed. With a mighty roar that shook the very fabric of reality, Xiaoyi opened her enormous maw and dove towards the spider horde. Her wings flapped vigorously, and each beat sent waves of scorching fire into the air. The webs, meant to ensnare and suffocate, disintegrated into ashes upon contact with her fiery aura. After a few seconds had passed, Lu Fan signaled down the cliff with his hand, his gaze fixed on the swarming spiders below. He then gave Xiaoyi, his formidable black dragon, the order to use Great Cataclysm, a devastating ability that allowed her to unleash a massive explosion in the area where she flew, causing widespread destruction and leaving a trail of burning wreckage. Xiaoyi's wings expanded to an enormous size, casting a shadow over the battlefield as she took to the skies. With a powerful flap of her wings, she began her assault, flames pouring from her mouth and incinerating everything in her path. The spiders, caught in the inferno, had no chance of survival. As Xiaoyi wreaked havoc among the arachnids, Lu Fan's team members approached the cliff to witness the spectacle. Xiao Fei, the little jade dragon, perched on Lu Fan's head, its vibrant scales shimmering in the light of the flames below. Han Jie, clinging tightly to Lu Fan's arm, peered over the edge and gasped in astonishment. She had known Xiaoyi was powerful, but seeing her in this form, with her full might unleashed, was something else entirely. "She's incredible," Han Jie whispered, her eyes wide with amazement. Tao Xiaoman, standing beside Han Jie, also gazed down at the scene. The sight of Xiao Ye's devastating power left her in awe. "She's just like a legendary dragon," she murmured, her voice filled with wonder. Even Jianing, usually composed and reserved, couldn't hide her amazement. She realized that Xiao Ye's destructive strength surpassed that of the legendary dragons she had heard about in tales and legends. Lu Fan, sensing the perfect moment to bolster Xiao Ye's power even further, turned his attention to his little dragon, Xiao Fei. With a knowing smile, he decided it was time to apply some buffs. "Xiao Fei, it's time," he said softly. Upon hearing his command, Xiao Fei closed its eyes and began to smile. Lu Fan extended his hand towards Xiao Fei, and the gem embedded in its chest started to glow with an intense emerald light. "Use the Emerald Dragon Heritage ability," Lu Fan instructed. This unique ability allowed the effects of any skill used on dragons, or those with dragon ancestry, to be doubled in potency. The gem on Xiao Fei's chest shone even brighter as it activated the ability. Next, Lu Fan commanded, "Now, use Emerald Light on Xiao Yi." This ability enveloped Xiao Yi in a shimmering green aura, applying 3 layers of jade blessings. These blessings removed all debuffs from Xiao Yi and increased all her attributes by 60%, making her even more formidable. "And finally," Lu Fan said, his voice filled with determination, "use Dragon Encouragement on Xiao Yi." This powerful ability inspired both the Tamer and the Dragon Pet, increasing all of their attributes and attack power by an additional 30%. Within moments, the buffs from Xiao Fei, the Jade Dragon, reached Xiao Yi, coursing through her veins like liquid fire. Xiao Yi spread her wings wide, their span growing exponentially, glowing with an ethereal light. The very air around her seemed to ignite, and with a deafening roar, she unleashed a torrent of flames. The smaller spiders, caught in the inferno, were incinerated instantly. A shimmering system window materialized before Lu Fan's eyes, detailing Xiao Ye's enhanced stats. She had ascended to level 60, her strength surging to an awe-inspiring 2,937 points, agility to 4,117, spirit to a staggering 9,902, and endurance to 5,728. The transformation was nothing short of spectacular. The mother spider, a monstrous, grotesque creature with eyes that glowed like molten lava, was not one to be easily intimidated. Sensing the threat posed by Xiao Yi, it let out a bone-chilling roar. Its minions, the smaller spiders, responded instantly, scurrying up the cliffside with terrifying speed. Amidst this perilous scene, Lu Fan placed a reassuring hand on his Aunt Han Jie's shoulder. His gaze turned to Qin Xiu, the ice mage, her face set with steely determination. "Can you protect Aunt Han Jie?" he asked, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Qin Xiu tightened her grip on her staff, its crystalline structure glinting with a cold, blue light. "Don't worry, Lu Fan. I'll protect her with my life," she declared, her voice unwavering. She took her position, ready to summon the frosty powers at her command to shield Han Jie from any harm. Meanwhile, the little jade dragon, Xiao Fei, took to the skies, flying beside Lu Fan. Her presence was a symbol of hope and strength, her emerald scales shimmering in the dim light. Lu Fan unsheathed his dagger, its blade gleaming wickedly. His eyes locked onto the Spider Queen, a smile playing on his lips. "Jianing, get ready," he called out. "It's time to take down the Spider Queen." Jianing, the swordmaster, responded with swift precision. She extended her hands, and in an instant, 3 swords materialized around her, hovering and spinning with lethal grace. The air was tense as the small spider minions began to climb the cliff. Their chittering and the scraping of their legs against the rocky surface echoed ominously. Lu Fan, a determined glint in his eyes, exchanged a quick glance with Jian Ying before both of them leaped off the cliff, swords drawn, ready to face the oncoming horde. As they descended, the spiders launched their first wave of attacks. However, Lu Fan's agility was unmatched. With swift, precise movements, he deftly evaded their strikes and countered with his dagger, dispatching several spiders in mere moments. Not to be outdone, Jianing whirled into action beside him, her twin swords slicing through the arachnids with deadly efficiency. Her every move was fluid, a dance of blades that left a trail of spider parts raining down to the ground. The descent was brief but intense, and when they landed at the bottom of the cliff, they were greeted by an even larger swarm of spiders. These new foes scuttled towards them, their eyes gleaming with malice. Lu Fan's expression hardened. With a commanding shout, he called for Xiao Yi, his loyal black dragon. The sky above them darkened momentarily as Xiao Yi descended, her massive wings creating gusts of wind that stirred the dust on the ground. Xiao Yi unleashed the second phase of her great cataclysm skill as she approached. Her descent was a spectacle of destruction, each beat of her wings and swipe of her claws leaving a trail of carnage. When she finally landed, she roared mightily, and a tremendous explosion of fire erupted from her maw, incinerating countless spider minions in an instant. The intense heat of the flames could be felt even from a distance, a testament to Xiao Ye's raw power. Seeing an opportunity, Lu Fan and Jianing pressed forward, cutting through the remaining spiders with renewed vigor. Their goal was clear, the Spider Queen. As they advanced, Xiao Fei, the graceful jade dragon, soared above them, her scales gleaming like precious stones in the flickering light of the flames. 2 system windows appeared before Lu Fan, notifying him that Xiao Fei had reached level 4. Without missing a beat, Xiao Yi initiated the third phase of her great cataclysm skill. The ground around her erupted into an inferno, flames spreading rapidly and engulfing the spiders in a relentless blaze. The air crackled with heat, and the scent of burning chitin filled the battlefield. Amidst this chaos, Jianing couldn't help but glance back, awe and respect mingling in her eyes as she witnessed Xiao Ye's devastating power up close. The flames roared around them, so intense that she felt as if she might be consumed by their fury. The air was thick with tension as Lu Fan turned his head back, his eyes scanning the surroundings with a worried expression. "Are you all okay?" he asked, his voice carrying a mix of concern and urgency. Qin Xiu, with her calm demeanor and ice-blue eyes, met his gaze, a reassuring smile playing on her lips. Tao Xiaoman, her stance solid and fierce, was already in the midst of the fray, her sword slicing through the air with deadly precision. The metallic clang of her blade against the chitinous exoskeletons of the spiders echoed through the cavern. Qin Xiu, her magic staff glowing with an ethereal light, extended it towards the approaching arachnids. Lightning crackled around her, dancing in the air with a raw, primal energy. "Don't worry about us," she called out to Lu Fan, her voice steady and confident. "Tao Xiaoman and I can handle these little minions." Reassured by Qin Xiu's response, Lu Fan felt a surge of determination course through him. With a serious look, he turned to Jianing, who stood beside him with her sword at the ready. "It's time to end this fight," he said, his voice firm and resolute. Jianing nodded, her grip tightening on her sword. Her eyes met his, reflecting his determination. Xiao Yi, the sleek black dragon, and Xiao Fei, the graceful jade dragon, both sensed the shift in their master's demeanor. They moved with fluid grace, following Lu Fan as he advanced towards the Spider Queen. The Spider Queen, sensing the threat, decided not to stay idle. Its grotesque form shifted, mandibles clicking as it opened its maw wide. With a sinister hiss, it unleashed a venom spray, a torrent of toxic green liquid aimed directly at Lu Fan and Jianing. The air shimmered with the deadly substance, but both warriors reacted with lightning speed. They dove to the side, narrowly avoiding the lethal spray, the poison sizzling as it hit the ground where they had stood moments before. Lu Fan knew this fight was going to be perilous. His mind raced as he considered their options. Reaching out his hand towards Jianing, he called out to Xiao Fei, who hovered nearby, her emerald scales glinting in the dim light. "Xiao Fei, use emerald light on Jianing," he commanded. Xiao Fei responded immediately, her eyes glowing with a vibrant green light. She flapped her wings, and 3 shimmering green leaves materialized above Jianing's head. The leaves pulsed with a soft, soothing energy, and Jianing felt a wave of strength and clarity wash over her. She turned to look at Lu Fan, her eyes wide with surprise and a touch of gratitude. "Why are you so concerned about me?" She couldn't help but wonder, her heart touched by his protective gesture. Lu Fan found himself momentarily distracted, allowing the Spider Queen to seize an opportunity. The monstrous arachnid opened its mouth wide, unleashing a web-spewing ability designed to entangle everything within its range. In an instant, the Spider Queen launched a thick, sticky spiderweb towards Lu Fan. As he turned his head back, his eyes widened in alarm. "This is not good," he thought, quickly moving to one side. With a swift motion, he drew his dagger and slashed at the web. Despite his quick reflexes, the web grazed his cheek, leaving a thin, stinging cut. He clenched his teeth tightly and let out a small shriek of pain. Drops of blood began to trickle from his wound, suspended in the air for a brief moment. As he focused on the Spider Queen, he gave an urgent command to Xiao Yi. "Attack now," he ordered. Meanwhile, little Xiao Fei, one of his loyal dragon pets, was captivated by the sight of Lu Fan's blood. She couldn't resist the temptation and stuck out her tongue, flying towards him with eager eyes. Xiao Fei opened her mouth and drank Lu Fan's blood, savoring it. With Xiao Yi by his side, they turned their attention back to the Spider Queen. Lu Fan, with a determined look, commanded Xiao Yi to use her most devastating ability, the annihilation of all things. Upon hearing the command, Xiao Yi extended her hands to the sides, her eyes glowing with fierce intensity. She opened her mouth and let out a powerful roar, her wings flapping vigorously. From her wings emerged 4 colossal fire tornadoes, each one a swirling inferno of destruction. The tornadoes roared towards their targets, engulfing them in flames and causing immense damage. Jianying, who was also part of the fierce battle, watched in awe as the flames from Xiao Ye's attack spread across the battlefield. She had seen Xiao Ye's abilities before, but witnessing this new level of power left her stunned. Her power to unleash natural disasters could definitely destroy cities and even countries, Jianying thought, her mind racing with the implications of such a force. Xiao Yi started flapping her wings, sending out a cascade of flames that incinerated the swarm of little spiders in an instant. The fiery display lit up the cavern, casting long shadows against the rocky walls as the charred remains of the spiders fell to the ground. Lu Fan and Jianying began to walk toward the boss spider, their expressions resolute. Jianying couldn't help but marvel at the incredible sight before her. Xiao Ye's strength alone had almost completely eliminated the horde of spiders. Flying behind Lu Fan, Xiao Yi seemed to move with a grace that belied her power. Several system windows appeared in front of Lu Fan, each notifying him of Xiao Fei's progress. Xiao Fei had leveled up to level 5 and had acquired a new ability called Jade Blessing. This skill allowed Xiao Fei to apply 3 layers of Jade Dragon Breath to a target, significantly increasing the damage of the next 3 attacks. Lu Fan clenched his teeth tightly, his determination unwavering. He turned his focus towards the remaining spiders, his mind racing with strategies. "Xiao Fei, use Jade Blessing," he commanded. Xiao Fei followed the order, but as she prepared to use her new skill, the gem on her chest began to glow with an intense light. Lu Fan watched in astonishment as the gem's light grew brighter. He shielded his eyes with his hand, squinting through the glare. What was happening? He couldn't help but wonder if Xiao Fei was about to transform, much like Xiao Yi had before. The gem's light seemed to envelop Xiao Fei, and her body began to change. Wings sprouted from her back, her tail grew longer, and her form started to shift into a more human shape. As the transformation continued, Lu Fan's anticipation grew. Xiao Fei was undergoing a metamorphosis right before his eyes. When the light finally subsided, Xiao Fei stood before him and Jianying in her new human form. She had transformed into a girl with vibrant green hair, surrounded by greenish spiritual, illusory vines that depicted her calm personality and deep connection with nature. Xiao Fei's new appearance was striking. She had 2 horns atop her head, large bird-like wings sprouting from her back, and a long greenish tail. Her body was still adorned with dragon scales, giving her an otherworldly, yet undeniably cute, appearance. She looked like a small, ethereal guardian of nature.